Hey, welcome back. Today we're breaking down the situation that happens to so many of us when we are about to do something new. We feel that resistance, that fear, and it slows us down and keeps us stuck. And I'm going to tell you why that happens and what you can do about it so you can still pursue the new thing that you want to do. I want to start off by telling you a story. In October 2019, I made the decision to become a certified life coach through the Life Coach School. And I made this decision because my life had been so incredibly transformed by this work that I knew I needed to become a coach myself and share these teachings with as many women as possible and make that my life's mission. But the decision to get certified was not made on a whim. That program had roughly the same time and financial investment as my husband's master's degree. And I had never been through the program, nor had I known anyone that personally did, so I did not know what I was getting myself into. But I knew that that was my calling and I needed to do whatever it took to make that happen. And I remember sitting on our bed with the laptop, and I had just gotten an email from the school saying that the waitlist had opened up and I was able to move forward with the application after submitting the payment. And I probably stared at that submit button for what seemed like 10 minutes, but it was probably more like 45 minutes because of this clenching fear in my body. My brain was shooting all of these worst case scenarios of all the things that could possibly go wrong and why I shouldn't do it and how if it didn't turn out how I wanted it to, I would look like a fool in front of my friends and family. And what if I regretted my decision later on? And what if I didn't have what it took to be a successful student of the school? Like all of these things, right? And my husband was in the other room watching a show or something, and I kept calling out to him, being like, I want this, right? I should do this, right? Just trying to reassure myself. But the problem was I really had no idea what was going to happen. No matter how encouraging or supportive my husband was, or how badly I wanted to be a coach, I still felt that fear. So maybe you feel this way with this new thing that you want to do, whether you're switching careers or starting a business, pursuing motherhood, moving away, starting school, getting married, hiring a coach, whatever it is. When we let fear have the final say and don't know how to manage our minds, we hold ourselves back and rob ourselves of the ability to grow and create the life that we want. So the first thing I want you to know is that your fear is normal. It's because you're a human and you have a brain that is wired that way. But before we try to go fixing and changing things, we need to first understand why it's happening. It's like if you went into a pizza place, a new pizza place, and ordered a pepperoni pizza, which is your favorite kind, and when you ate a slice of it, it tasted bad. So in a rush to rationalize or reason what happened, you blame the pizza place for not making good pepperoni pizza. But if you just allowed yourself to slow down and see what could have caused the bad taste, you might then realize that there were actually mushrooms on that pizza. So then what you do is, now that you know the cause of the bad taste, you go back and ask for the pizza without mushrooms, and then it tastes wonderful. So you could have missed out on the opportunity to enjoy great pizza at the new pizza place if you had rushed to a conclusion or solution by just never going there again. What I'm trying to say is that you will have a hard time finding a great solution or a long-term solution if you don't even understand what the true cause is. So why does fear happen when we want to start something new? Well, our emotions are caused by our thoughts. Fear is not this independent sign from the universe that something bad is about to happen. Fear is also not a direct result of the decision you're making or the new thing that you are trying. It's just the effect from the thoughts that you're having. And our brains have a lot of thoughts that lead to fear when we're trying to do something new because it's wired for survival. Naturally, it prefers to keep things status quo and familiar and avoid potential danger at all costs. Think back to when we were in the caveman days. If we were living in a cave, eating the berries nearby, and surviving just fine, why would we try to venture out? We know how to survive here. It's the way we've always done things and it's working. If we leave the cave, we could get eaten, get lost, or be subject to a multitude of other dangers. So when you're like, I'm gonna try this new thing, your brain equates the unknown with danger and it tries to pull out all the stops to prevent you from doing it. So that is why you're flooded with worst case scenarios, urges to be distracted with eating, Netflixing, scrolling, researching, stress cleaning, napping, whatever. And it's kind of ironic, right? Because in an effort to avoid feeling bad in the future, we just make ourselves feel bad in the present. And it's our brain's attempt to protect you from what it thinks is a threat to your survival. Pretty fascinating, right? So first, I want you to understand what thoughts are causing your fear. So I want you to take out a piece of paper and a writing utensil. And yes, the old-fashioned way, paper and pencil, because it's usually more effective for this. And ask yourself, why am I feeling fear? And I want you to dump everything in your brain onto that piece of paper. All of your worries, your thoughts about yourself, your predictions of what might happen in the future because of this new thing, get it all out on that paper. Keep asking yourself, what else, until you're completely out. And what this does is it gets the mess out of our heads and out of the spin cycle of thoughts and gets it out onto paper where we can actually see it and do something about it. Then I want you to circle the facts. Now be careful with this step because often we will believe that a thought is a fact when it's not. So if you're believing like, I'm definitely going to fail at this, really take a look at that because it's a belief you have, not a concrete fact. Now I want you to observe this awareness that you created. Now you can see that it's not the new thing that you want to do that's causing your fear. It's the thoughts about the new thing that's causing it. And that is such good news, right? Because we know that we don't have to believe and buy into those thoughts if we don't want to, because they are truly optional. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to thank your brain for doing its job. And I know it sounds silly to do this, but so does keeping yourself stuck when your dreams and goals are on the other side of this activity, yeah? So thank your brain and all of your ancestors that came before you for keeping your bloodline and the human race alive all this time. If it wasn't for your danger scanning brain, you might not be here today. Without fear of getting crushed by a car, you might walk into oncoming traffic. Without fear of getting fired from your job and losing your paycheck, you might decide to just stop coming into work and stay in bed all day instead. So thank your brain for alerting you about all the possible and terrible things that doing this new thing could bring. The third thing I want you to do is recognize all the positive things that could happen. Since your brain's autopilot is to recognize all the dangers, you actually have to be intentional about this one and brainstorm all the potential positive things that could happen. Take another sheet of paper and write down as many things as you possibly can come up with. This includes taking the worst case scenario and deciding how you would turn things around if it happened and bounce back, if you will. The final thing is to allow the fear to be there. Fear is just an emotion. It's just a vibration in our body. Fear in and of itself cannot harm us. When I pressed submit on that application to the life coach school, I felt like I was gonna throw up. I was shaky, my heart was pounding, my thoughts in my head about all the terrible things that could go wrong were screaming at me. But I knew that this is what I wanted for my long-term self, and I had made an intentional decision. So I took action despite the fear anyways. I didn't wait until the fear went away. And we often think that fear is a bad thing and that we need to avoid it or cover it up or try to change it all the time. But what if, when we heard fear knocking, we just let it in, offered it a hot beverage, and continued onward in the direction of our dreams? I think back to all those moments that I moved forward despite the fear. And it's crazy to think about how much I could have missed out on if I would have let fear choose the trajectory of my life. And I don't want fear to hold you back either. So if you want to take this work further, I would love to have you join Meal Planner Academy. We take all of this material and apply it, not just to meal planning, but all other areas of your life. So just visit katiefreedcoaching.com and also be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any new content. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next video.